Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today, I'm going to change these three lights. And no, I don't mean I'm going to pull them off the tank and replace it with something completely different. Instead, what I'm going to do is upgrade the LED clusters. So I'm going to open up the fixture, pull out the old clusters, and put in the new clusters, which are the new GHL Mitras LX7 LED clusters. What the new clusters are supposed to do is add a much more broad blue spectrum and an added violet UV 405 nanometer diode. The end result is supposed to be more fluorescence, so much better coral color pop, as well as more growth. So join me and let's get this upgrade done. So in order for the lights to actually accept the new clusters, the first thing I had to do was update the firmware on my lights. I connected the USB cable to the light, fired up the new GHL control center, connected to each light, and did the update. Altogether, it only took a few minutes. After the update, I powered off the lights and got started on taking them off the rail one by one. I didn't disconnect the lights from any of the power supplies because the cables are long enough for me to rest the lights on the cabinet that is next to the tank. Alright, so now that the light is down, I can get started with opening up the light and installing the clusters. What I'm going to use to open the light is a T10 Torx screwdriver. I'm just going to remove these 4 screws, pop off the display, slide out this protective splash cover, and then I'm going to remove the reflectors. There's 4 screws on each reflector, so I'm going to take those out, and that's going to expose the clusters for me to pull them out and finally install the new ones. Now that the splash cover is removed, we have the reflectors exposed. So next thing for me to do is remove the 4 screws that are holding the reflectors in place. I'm going to use the same T10 Torx screwdriver to do that. So now that the reflectors are removed, I could go ahead and start removing the original clusters and replacing them with the new ones. Taking out the clusters was pretty quick. I just slid them out and put the new ones in. I will say that having this level of modularity is one of the reasons why I've kept this light through the years. I really enjoy the flexibility of being able to replace and upgrade the lights without actually having to go out and buy a brand new fixture. That saves me both time and money, and I just can't argue with that. Alright guys, so the new clusters are now installed and the old clusters are out. Next thing to do is just reassemble the fixture, put it back on the tank, and fire it right up. Now that the lights are remounted, the next thing for me to do is just tell the lights that they now have the new 7500 clusters installed. Right now, it still thinks it has the original 7200s in there, but that's not the case since I did go ahead and replace these clusters. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to connect to the hotspot of each light and go through the app, go into the settings, and tell the fixture that it now has the new 7500 clusters installed. Once I have that taken care of, I just power off the 3 lights, and when they boot up again, they're going to boot up and display the correct channels, the new channels, the ones that are on the 7500 series clusters. Okay, so now the lights are set up as an LX7500. The very last thing I had to do was create my light schedule for it. I decided to go with a 20K look, which is pretty close to what I had before I did the swap. What I decided to do here when I created the daylight schedule is go with 100% from my 385 nanometer UVA channel. I also did 100% on hyperviolet, deep blue, and royal blue. As you can see, I also chose to pump up the white spectrum because I did also want to give the corals that necessary green, red, and yellow spectrum that the corals need. As far as the difference between the original 7200 clusters and these 7500 clusters go, the 7200 did have a dedicated red, blue, white, and a green channel.
those are now gone in the 7500. They were replaced by the deep blue channel, a 405 nanometer violet channel, as well as a daylight white channel. Oh, and one last thing. In case you're wondering if it's possible to create a light schedule through the app, the answer is yes, you can. With these lights, I can create a light schedule using either GHL Control Center, as you see here, or the GHL Connect app using the multi-channel setup feature. I specifically chose to use GCC because of personal preference and also because it was easier for me to show you all the channels and the spectrum chart.
So that's pretty much the LX7 cluster upgrade process. This is what the tank looks like with the new 7500 clusters installed. It gives off a nice crisp blue hue. Immediately as soon as I turned on the lights, the one thing that caught my eye was how much this red dragon suddenly started fluorescing. It did not do this when I originally had the 7200 clusters. I think the addition of the deep blue and the 405 nanometer violet channel is responsible for giving this immediate outcome. I know it's still early in the process. I do need to give the corals at least 2 months to settle into the new spectrum. I am going to use the lights, or I should say the ProfiLux controller's acclimation feature, so that I can give the corals and the fish at least 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks to ease into the new spectrum, as well as the intensity of the light. When I was creating the schedule, I did my best to try to get it as close to intensity as of what I had before, but even then, just to play it safe, I'm going to use the acclimation mode either way. I'm also going to put up on the screen for you guys a quick before and after shot of the 7200 and the 7500 clusters. This is what the tank looks like when all the channels are at 100%. Alright guys, that wraps up today's video. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those comments down below. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to hit the thumbs up icon and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Until next time guys, take care.